Hey VC, Tim back again. Thought I'd do another quick update on some things that I've picked up recently and give a little update on that mega haul that I showed a couple days ago. So, working through that one, basically that night after I took the video, I started wiping everything down and doing a quick inspection of everything that was coming in. Ended up throwing away, I don't know, maybe 40 the stuff that first looks at completely unsalvageable. And you never like to do that, but you know, no sense in putting it into the next wave if you knew you weren't going to be able to do anything with it. So, tossed all that, condensed it down a little bit. I'm still looking at about 600, and if you've ever done a big project like that, it's an undertaking. So, trying to figure out the best way to show it. I'm also going through and I'm probably gonna have to take out a lot of the 12-inch singles because a lot of the 12-inch singles probably aren't going to come up on camera. So I'm gonna kind of do a flip video. Hopefully in the next week. Work has been keeping me crazy busy, so we'll see. But the update I want to show tonight is from a few weeks ago. I posted something in the YouTube page on Facebook. Um, but this one is from an estate sale that I went to a few weeks ago. I actually took the day off. It was one of those, got the tip that was going to happen, and they had a lot of records, and I really wanted to get in there early. And even though I was there, pretty much it opened, there were people in front of me, so seeing things go by, had to wait my turn and pick the best of the best that I could find. I ended up going back on Saturday just to kind of go through some of the singles that were there as well, because they always do a half price on the Saturday. So I'm not going to focus on the singles tonight. I'm just going to show you the the full length albums that I picked up. But first, they finally found a beer named after me. So that is what I'm drinking tonight, the Arrogant Bastard Ale. And if you don't like it, the company doesn't want to hear from you because this wasn't made for you anyway. So, cheers, everybody. So that's what I'm drinking tonight. So I don't know what the phone's going to pick up. Got it kind of turned down because I don't want the YouTube police to kind of flag me. But this is what I'm listening to tonight. I need to glare off of there. It's Sparks, and this one is Number One in Heaven. It's actually it's a white label promo that I picked up there. A lot of promos were there, and I was really shocked to find out. So I'm familiar with Sparks. I wasn't really familiar with a lot of their catalog, but I picked this one up. It was like, I don't know, $2-3. Really enjoy it. This one actually has the song, the number one song in Heaven, was a kind of a big dance hit in the UK. I don't think it really did well here, but anybody who's a fan of synth pop or that alternative, this came out in '79, so it kind of predates some of the, maybe even a lot of the like Depeche Mode and stuff like that. I know they were in the '70s too. Oh, there's my cat. Um, but if you're a fan of that stuff, check them out if you haven't done so already. This is a really good album. Really enjoying it, and sounds fantastic. So that's what I'm listening to tonight. So I showed this one. I know I've talked about it too. Um, Sunshine Pop. I mean, just absolutely love it. Anything from the '60s, I'm pretty much a sucker for. This is the free design. I know this just got a reissue. I want to say middle of last year, I think it was, but this is the real deal, and I was really happy to pick this up. I was shocked to see that a lot of people passed by this. Like I said, I wasn't the first person in line for the records. A lot of people passed this one up, and I just don't think they knew what it was. I was I was more than happy to educate them once I grabbed it and had it in my stack and said, "You guys messed up." So another one I picked up, Dire Straits Communique. I am a Dire Straits fan, but I was not familiar with this album. I know Andy over at Andy's Vinyl Den. This was kind of his introduction to Dire Straits, and this is a fantastic album. I enjoyed spinning this. In fact, I think as soon as was over, I flipped it over and started right again. So I'm familiar with Martin Knopfler. I'm familiar with the sound of the band, but this one I had never heard, and man, was I glad to pick this one up. This was an absolute steal. If you see this, and just do yourself a favor, pick this one up. It's a fantastic record. So I'm gonna try to go through these as fast as possible tonight. This was a best of the Turtles. Let's try to get the glare off there. Two records. Absolutely, everything you'd want to hear from the Turtles, from Happy Together to just all their big hits. I didn't have anything in my collection, so it's a great way to start is with the best of, because if you can't find much, at least you got something, and really just packed full of great music. So I'm glad to pick that one up. Another best of, and again you can see the whole punch there. The best of the Lovin' Spoonful. Just again from the '60s, you had so many great bands that were either putting out the pop or putting out uh, anything, whatever they were feeling. It was definitely a great era, and so I'm glad to pick anything up from that era to really just sit back and enjoy. It's what I grew up on. So another gold stamp promo, Gary Newman. This one is Telecon. So I'm obviously familiar with Gary Newman, having grown up and listened to a lot of the synth pop of the late '70s, '80s, a lot of the one-hit wonders of the '80s, and just the crossover as that synth pop, that new age, alt, whatever you want to call it, kind of took over the airwaves on the pop side. So I was familiar with him, but I hadn't heard this album, so I was glad to pick this one up. I think there's another one in the stack here that I'll get to shortly that I was more familiar with and was glad to pick up. Hot Butter. This is their second album. This one does not have the Popcorn single that they're best known for. This one is a lot of covers. You picked it up basically on the strength of knowing the sound of the band with the Moog and or Moog, however you want to say it. But it also has a wonderful version of two songs, Tequila on the Moog, which is fantastic, and they also do Mana. And I'll pause a second for everyone to go do 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 Mana. So we're familiar with the song. It's such a novelty. I had to pick it up, and like I said, I think that one was only a couple bucks. I don't need to talk about this record. If you don't have this record, you should have this record. I think that's all we need to say. Fantastic. I had it on CD, never on vinyl, so I'm not going to complain. This was another one I was really shocked that nobody grabbed. I don't think people knew what this was or what to do with it. I saw it and bit my lip because I was looking over the shoulder of the guy in front of me, and he flipped past it and flipped back to it, and flipped past it. So as he did, I just made sure that I didn't make a sound. And when it was my turn to get to that box, I went right to it and grabbed it before anybody else had a thought. Not only is this a great album and a great parody of the band, and very campy and silly, and I just absolutely love it. It's a gold stamp promo. So I was super happy to pick this up. The only flaw this thing has is the book inside has come out of the actual gatefold. So I try not to take it out too much, but this album cracks me up. If you're not familiar with the Rutles and you are a Beatles fan, first off, shame on you. You should know what this is. This is a great album, but it's a package. It's the cover, it's the booklet, it's the music, it's the satire. Very British humor. So if you're a fan of Monty Python, Eric Idle's in it, but it really has that feel of, we know that the Beatles were the biggest thing, and we're just gonna have some fun with it, and they really do, and it's fantastic. The album, like I said, but you have to take it as a package. If you listen to the album by itself, you may not enjoy it as much. So, the package. So my wife actually has a background in choir and singing, and she studied it in high school and in college, and she was possibly going to go even into musical theater. Didn't really pan out, but that's okay. I mean, I was also in the music background in high school, and it didn't pan out. So whenever I see musicals, especially if they're kind of on the classic side, either they're well known, I pick them up. I just have to. It's been both our DNA. She really enjoys them, and we try to go see musical theater when we can. We're actually going to go see a reproduction of Rent here in a couple months. I'm very excited to go do that. So whenever I see that stuff, I pick it up. And I know it's probably not the most sexy thing to show in the VC, but yeah, let's get past it. Guys and Dolls. This was actually sealed, so it was not only fun to open, even so it had the little strip banner and everything, which generally doesn't show on the cover. You can take it off, but I chose to leave it on. Pressed on Motown. I this kind of stuff I will buy all day long for her. She doesn't listen to records as much as I do, which is fine. Pardon me. But I know she enjoys this type of thing. She can sit back, she can relax, she can, just kind of think of the yesteryear of performing. So, love that kind of stuff, that and soundtracks. And speaking of soundtracks, this was one that when I picked up, a lot of people commented on when I posted. If you haven't seen this movie, what are you waiting for? This is a fantastic film, and the use of music is in the film is just absolutely great. Do yourself a favor, watch this film. Stanley Kubrick, I know, can be challenging at times. I mean, 2001 is a great film, but it's a little weird, and this one's definitely weird. But the music goes hand in hand with it. So when I saw this, I had to grab it. I was really excited to have this. This is one of those ones that if you're a fan of movies and a fan of movie soundtracks, probably would have. So I am a bit of a Moody Blues fan. I grew up on them. I had a few, and this was a great one to add. If for nothing else, it has my favorite Moody Blues song on it of all time, which is "I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band." Love the build up to the song. I love the harmonies in the song, the way that the song presents itself. And he's literally just saying, "I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. I'm not here to solve the world's problems." But that's what they were kind of challenged to do in the 60s. So it's a great song. It's a great album. I can listen to the Moody Blues all day long, put my feet up, have a drink, and just really just have a good time. And Moody Blues will always do it for me. So I'm glad to have that one. Again, this is another musical, Porgy and Bess. It was in really good condition, and again, I think it was like $2 or something like this. This was on the half price day. So again, when I see this stuff, I'm gonna have to grab it just because we both enjoy it. It's something that I can put on in the background. We can recognize something. Oh, hey, we know that, and sometimes we'll kind of spark her to if it's coming around. If she's familiar with the music, she'll want to go see it. And we just enjoy the theater. So this one was a little interesting. I really wasn't familiar with it when I saw it. I was intrigued by it. Space, cool, digital. Okay, I'm interested. And it said it was a digital recording. I was like, well, it's an analog source. So it looks like it was one of the very first digital recordings, and they even go so far as to say this digital recording can be, so you can see it there. This digital recording will work just fine on your stereophonic system. Okay. So then I'm looking at the tracks. I'm like, there's Star Wars. Star Wars is on this. So I had to grab it. As you can see by the shirt, the cat gets out of the way. The pillow. I have a Star Wars problem. My name is Tim, and I have a Star Wars and vinyl problem. I don't want to seek therapy for it. So when I saw Star Wars, I had to grab it. This was another interesting one that I had seen, and I saw it on the Friday, and I was like, I was already buying enough. We decided to go back Saturday, and everything was half price, and I kind of jumped on it then. Very interesting to hear world music kind of presented, not in its truest form, but still very interesting. This is actually an import. I don't even think this ever got a release stateside. This was, looks like it was a European release. I listened to some of it. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I've enjoyed what I've listened to so far. But any chance I can get to kind of learn a little bit more about some of the music in the other parts of the world, I want to. I'm never gonna probably get to Africa to listen to some of the music. So if I can bring it home, sure, why not? Again, back on the soundtrack front, which again, great way to pick up all different kinds of music. Skate Town USA. I mean, a lot of great '70s music on here. You've got Boogie Wonderland and Shake Your Body and Boogie Nights, and just a lot of great stuff. And this was actually sealed, and I think this one also is a gold stamp promo. Kind of hard to see. So a lot of promos in this set. It was really odd. So I don't know if he knew somebody or if he was connected. In another room, he had 1,000, and I wish I was exaggerating, 1,000 movie posters. And as much as I wanted to go through all that stuff, that it was too hot, it was too crowded. They were folded, they weren't rolled, so I was concerned about some of the quality. But I did see one guy, and he had a hell of a haul, and he had every Star Wars poster that the guy could have had, and I was like, well, that's probably what I would have went for. So, speaking of, I mean, it's not Star Wars, but the music of John Williams. I'm not familiar with the film, but whenever I see the music of John Williams, I'm gonna jump on it. Probably one of the most amazing composers of the 20th century, and I absolutely love it. Obviously, because of Star Wars, because of Jaws, but whenever I see the name John Williams, I'm gonna grab it. So, and my wife again loves him too. So this was the other Sparks album that I had found. Again, cut out. I don't think this one's a promo, no, but Indiscreet. This one I have not spun. Like I said, I was listening to the other one earlier, but I haven't spun this one. But I really like it. I really like the sound of the band, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a listen. So if you're familiar with this one, let me know in the comments. Or if you're a big Sparks fan, where should I go? Because I'm liking what I'm hearing. Obviously I'm gonna give this one a spin, maybe tonight or tomorrow. But where should I go from here if you're a big Sparks fan? So the kind of why I decided to make this video tonight on the Facebook page, Jeff Party had commented that he was spinning a Marshall Crenshaw record, and I commented I picked this one up. I'm familiar with him, but I hadn't heard the whole album, and it's just absolutely fantastic. The sounds, it's got that early '80s alt sound. We probably got a little bit of pop play, but mostly it was that college alternative music that was really starting to hit its stride in the early to mid '80s. And we had kind of had a comment about it that, between the one-hit wonders of the era and the bands that were really hitting it big in that kind of category, where you, again, the Depeche Modes, or, even a little bit later on, the Smiths and the Cure, and then you take the other side, a little bit more aggressive side, they were still playing the Ramones, and, that side was still going as well. And then you had the singer-songwriters, Elvis Costello was obviously huge, and Joe Jackson did, had some hits and stuff like that. A lot of people kind of, they got their one shot, and that was the end of it. And I think Marshall Crenshaw falls into that. Great album, great sound, but just kind of falls a little short in the longevity because he just couldn't break through all the other noise. The only thing that bums me, and obviously we'll talk about it, is that I don't know if this person wanted to hide that they had promos, or whoever was getting them for them was hiding that they were promos, or maybe he bought them from a store that was like, hey, we're not supposed to have them. But instead of even blacking it out, they cut it out of the picture, and it. Otherwise, this is mint. I mean, a lot of these look like they've been played maybe once or twice. I don't even know if this was ever played before I got it. So, but the cover hurts. The joys of being a nerdy collector. Or an arrogant bastard. Cheers. So another one, a lot of us from the 70s were familiar with. The band that gave us the most crazy song ever, Focus. Obviously we're talking about Hocus Pocus. I hadn't heard a lot of other stuff by them when I was a kid, because everybody had that one song. In fact, I think the 45 my parents had was a double-sided. It had one version of Hocus Pocus on one side and another version on the other. So it wasn't until much later that I got a chance to listen, and I liked what I heard. So when I saw this, I had to grab it. So kind of a blind buy. I heard the band, or knew of the band, Renaissance. Know that they were kind of like that art or prog rock of the late 70s, early 80s, but I really wasn't familiar with their work. So this was a Saturday buy. I haven't had a chance to spin it yet, so if you're a Renaissance fan, let me know. I think I picked another one up in a heck of a sale from one of the record stores I frequent, out of their dollar bins. But let me know what you think. I mean, the cover obviously very intriguing. It definitely screams it's not its normal thing. But if you're familiar with their work, let me know what you think, and maybe where I should go and check out. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a spin, just to give it a shot. Excuse me as I drop one, because that's what you do. So my wife saw this one and thought I would. She kind of grabbed it as she was looking through, and she's like, "Hey, did you want this?" And I kind of looked at it and said, "Sure, why not?" If you're not familiar with the Flying Saucers, it was a novelty record. They were known for doing interviews with a particular topic on the street, and they would use song snippets to answer those questions. So I was familiar with it. I hadn't heard these, but I was familiar with their sound from some of the other singles. I think they did stuff about, like the War of the Worlds and stuff like that. And this little Flying Saucer, I think it was. And this one gets a little political. There's even a Watergate thing. So, and again, this was a Saturday buy. It was probably like $1 or $2, but it was, it'd be kind of cool to listen to and giggle and think of the comedy of the day. And I think that's what I've done, is listen to it once. So Buffalo Springfield, I mean, there's not really much that needs to be said about this band. Short-lived, but man, what a powerhouse lineup. Anytime you get Neil Young and Stephen Stills together, you're going to have a good time. Basically what you want to hear from the band, but I'm going to probably dig further and get the rest of their stuff, but this was a great starting point. And I kind of have to apologize to all the Neil Young fans out there. It hasn't really been that long for me that I've enjoyed a lot of Neil Young. I've started to pick some up, so for those of you Neil Young fans out there, I'm sorry. You were right. He's pretty awesome. So, but I was a big Crosby, Stills, and Nash fan, so this was a no-brainer for me. A couple left. Let's grab this one. Another gold stamp promo right there of Madness and their first U.S. release with Our House. I had the 7-inch single of this. The only song that, and it was probably released well before this, it's not on here, is One Step Beyond by Madness that you would want. And I actually found that 7-inch at the same estate sale. So I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do a full-blown 7-inch video of what I found there. I may just grab a few of the highlights, because some of them are kind of standard fare, but some of them were just really off the wall and really cool finds, including that. But I was lucky to get this one because two guys in front of me had grabbed it, and I'd seen them grab it, and I was like, oh man, I would have totally grabbed that. And so then I'm got my selection. I'm walking through and seeing what my wife's picking up, and she was like, hey, did you look at, I found a couple records in the corner, and this was one of them. I was like, yeah, Looked around, make sure that he wasn't like in the bathroom or something, and I casually picked him up and never saw the guy again. So, thanks. And then the last one was another gold stamp promo. This was the Gary Newman that I was referring to, the Pleasure Principle. Obviously, it has his big hit cars on it. Fantastic in that early 70s, late 70s, early 80s synth era. This was one of the ones that kind of kicked it off pretty early. Very fond memories of listening to Cars when I was a kid. Thought it was a great song, very futuristic, and didn't really realize that's where a lot of the synth pop, alt rock, whatever you want to call it in that time period was going. But man, it was so good, and I've really enjoyed this album. I've spun it half a dozen times since I've had it because it's just so good, and I really need to stop playing this one and play the other one. So that's about it. That's that haul. One of the one I want to show you to kind of show you, yes, I'm serious when I say that I am a Star Wars fan and I have a problem. This was my Valentine's Day present for my wife. This is the first 6 soundtracks on vinyl. All reissued. Made to look like they did originally. So, in the Star Wars set, there is, I'm not going to pull it out because it's crazy, there is actually an order form for merchandise as it was priced when it first came out. So it even says on it, please don't order, because it's not real. But the level of detail that they put into this, if you're a Star Wars fan and love the music, pick this up. But with a warning. When I got it, she ordered it from a place that specifically said there was no returns on this. She didn't think twice on it. It was a deal and a half. It was far lower than what she saw for anywhere else. The problem was with the packaging in the gatefold. The original Star Wars vinyl, it looks like it slipped into the gatefold, so it has a slight warp. Now I know Baraka P-Dub has talked about some of the packaging, and I can vouch for that. It actually happened here. Thankfully, the warp does not affect play, and I'm hoping that I will take that out, kind of wedge it into a bunch of them, and just over time it'll work itself out. So I was a little bummed about that, but again, don't let that be a hindrance. But if you are thinking about it, make sure you buy it from someplace that will accept returns or at least work with you. Unfortunately, it was right there in black and white, and they said, no, we're sorry. It was a special buy, so we're not doing returns or exchanges on it. But it plays fine. I'm just a little bummed that one of them is warped. But it does have the download code. It does have 11 discs of fantastic music from John Williams. And for the Force Awakens, I have the one with the hologram. So well on my way to complete my Star Wars music box, or all my Star Wars music. I couldn't be happier. So if you ever watch this, thanks, babe. You rock. Love you. To the rest of the VC, thanks for stopping by. I'm hoping to maybe squeeze in 1 or 2 more videos tonight. So if you see this shirt again, I do apologize, but I have a lot of Star Wars t-shirts. Well, okay, I have a few, but not a lot. But I'm a Star Wars fan, so you're going to see a lot of them. So thanks for stopping by. Really do appreciate it. Hopefully everybody has a great night, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.